Hey guys, welcome back to Clueless Gamers. I'm Pete, and today I'll be reviewing The Flash, Season 3, Episode 4, The New Rogue. So, I'm sorry if I'm repeating here, but some people only watch one or two of the TV shows I watch. So, if people are wondering why I do not have a reaction up this week, and instead I have this review, it's just I had a lot of stuff going on. Plus, if you can't tell from the sound of my voice, I am very sick. So I figured it'd be easier to do a review. I still want to get out my thoughts to this very interesting episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. I would definitely say the main points, if we were talking of the episode, are Mirror Master in the top, which was very exciting, relationships, new Wells, and Killer Frost. Okay, so I'm just going to start by saying that this episode wasn't my favorite. There's definitely intriguing storylines going on. I definitely want to see more. There was cool stuff that happened in this episode. However, for me, I kind of think it's one of the weaker episodes of the season. I thought the premiere was good, because it had Reverse Flash in it, but there was still points that I didn't like about it. Episode 2 was very good. Last week's episode was very good. This week, kind of on the weaker side. It's kind of right up there with the premiere, and there's some flaws in it. Getting into the first part of it, I would say, and the parts I liked were Mirror Master in the top. Now, yes, this is a little bit different than anyone that's read comics or seen DC animation. We're getting a different Mirror Master than we are used to. Usually we get, and it was cool that he was referenced in the episode by Wells, we usually get Evan McCullough. He is Mirror Master with the kind of mirror gun. He wears this very hippy-dippy orange suit, and it's a little ridiculous looking, but, he's part of the Rogues Gallery, of Snart's Rogues Gallery, hence the title of the episode. And, it was cool that he was referenced. I also like that he isn't our Mirror Master. We're going with the Sam Scudder version, who's actually like a meta, who actually has the power to travel through mirrors and go into the mirror-verse. As we, sort of seen, we've definitely seen him travel through mirrors in this episode, but didn't fully, explore the Mirrorverse. Maybe we will going forward, but I definitely like that they took that version of Mirror Master. I think it is a little less corny, but cool that they dropped a little Easter egg there. Obviously, the top is also very different. They're together as kind of a couple they're doing in the show, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, the last time we saw a villain couple was back in season 1, I believe, when we saw Peekaboo with her boyfriend. So we're kind of getting a little bit of that again, and I really don't have a problem with it. In the comic books, Top was obviously a male, or in DC animation or anywhere you pretty much seen him. I believe it was Roscoe Dillon was his name. They changed her name here to Rosalind Dillon. So it's the second time I could think of that they've changed a male character to a female character. I think they did it with the Bug-Eye Bandit as well, changing him to her, to Brie Larvin. So that's fine. I have no problem with it. I like that they gave an homage to the, again, ridiculous outfit of the Top with kind of her green and yellow skirt. I really did like that. She kind of spins a little bit during the episode. The one thing I didn't have a problem with, but it did, I wouldn't say jarring because it wasn't a huge deal, but definitely caught me off guard, was they changed her powers. The Top is notorious for being, pretty ridiculous. I mean, many villains and many Flash villains are. But he literally can spin, and he also has like these top kind of Dreidel looking bombs that he throws out or throws at the Flash. Says like these ridiculous puns and all this stuff. I think one of the DC animations of it, when Reverse Flash was in it, it wasn't Flashpoint Paradox, but it was something where Flash was fighting Reverse Flash, and Reverse Flash calls the whole Rogues Gallery, and the Top does some corny thing where he just says, once again, Flash, you're the bottom and I'm the top. So just ridiculous stuff like that. It was nice that we didn't have that ridiculousness, but we had kind of a homage to it. I thought both new Rogues, new characters are very intriguing. Obviously, I am glad, since they are pretty big Flash villains. They've been the two villains, especially Mirror Master, that everyone, including myself, has been asking since the Flash started. Like, hey, we have, Weather Wizard, we have Captain Cold and Heat Wave and Golden Glider. Where the hell is Mirror Master? Where's the Top? We finally get them in this episode. I'm glad, obviously, they didn't die. They stuck around. We get their origin story of very much the same that we have of a lot of our villains in this show for the most part, where they got hit with the particle accelerator, and the night that was happening, he got slammed into a mirror and she got like spun up basically in the air. Her powers in this are kind of not top like, but they induce vertigo, so I'm cool with that. It was kind of a neat power to see. It's kind of like in season 1 when you had that guy, what was it, Rainbow Raider, when he can induce kind of whamming you with anger. This is whamming you with vertigo. So I'm cool that they changed their powers. I thought they did it in an interesting way. I did like in the flashback, even though it was very kind of Flash-like, very cliche of this is how this villain got their power. I like that we saw Snart again. It's very, very nice always to see Wentworth Miller. He's, I think, busy with Breaking Bad season 5. But he signed some kind of deal, I'm pretty sure, that he's supposed to appear across all the shows. So it was nice to see even him in a flashback and then later in kind of a fake audio, kind of like, doppelganger-like thing that they did with the hologram. But it was still nice to see him. I think we'll see more of him going forward, maybe in flashbacks or somehow they bring him back. Obviously, if that's been confirmed, as always, I don't want to know. But I'm interested to see that going forward. I like the characters. I like the visual effects of Mirror Master in the top in this episode. Their fighting sequences were pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. Going into the second point in the episode, this is where it starts to get a little rocky. Relationships is what I titled this main point. We have relationships going on with mainly Barry and Iris. We have Wally and Jesse, and then we kind of have Joe and that like lady from the DA or whatever I think she's from. I forget her name in the episode. She showed up somewhat last season. I totally forgot about her until they kind of mentioned her on the previously on the Flash thing. I was like, oh yeah, that girl was around for one episode, that woman. But seemingly hinting at kind of a relationship for Joe going forward, which is nice because we haven't seen Joe really find love in this show. So it'd be nice to, if it doesn't take up too much of the show, of the show's dynamic, it would be nice to see him kind of get a love interest. The Barry and Iris stuff for me in this episode, yes, I want them to be together. They're the comic book relationship. I do believe these actors, their chemistry has been growing on me since the show started, where at first it didn't, and now it's picking up more. However, in this episode, it didn't work for me at all. Yeah, their relationship was fine, but they had to finally, the Flash writers had to finally tackle this awkwardness of Barry and Iris they grew up basically as siblings since he was like 10, 11 years old. And now it's like, yeah, so we're together, and our dad is basically, Joe, he's basically our dad, and they even mentioned that in a line this episode. It's weird to be kissing in front of him or even talk relationship things or anything in this episode, and I'm glad they addressed it. However, I don't think they addressed it that well. I still felt very awkward. This is definitely an awkward episode. And I hate this word, but it was a very cringe-worthy episode in terms of that relationship. It was just like, ugh. Like, yeah, it's weird that you're together, and it's weird that Joe and Barry have to have this conversation, and I get how Joe and Barry are so awkward, and I really don't understand why Iris, I understand she wants to clear the air, and especially in this Flashpoint timeline, we see how, her and Joe had, they didn't talk for a while, and I get she wants to clear the air, and that's Iris's character. However, it's just, I don't know, she just seems to be pushing the boundaries more than I would like. Like, she's kind of wants to be out, up front to Joe, her father, and basically Barry's father or second father, about them making out. Like, I don't know, I think that's a little too far. It's one thing dating, but getting into kind of the details of it, a little bit odd, especially when they had that scene in the living room and they were on the couch. I was like, oh, god damn it, that's Joe's couch, right? Obviously Barry lives there as well, and I was like, he's gonna totally walk in, and he does, and it's super awkward. And I don't know, it's just, it feels weird to me that they tried to address it in this episode, but I don't feel like they addressed it well enough. I still feel weird. I know it's not incestual, obviously, they don't share blood, but I mean, they're so close, especially if it's not weird for them, which understandable. It's weird for Joe. Like, you have to understand that is so strange. and it was just a very weird in this episode. I did like how the conclusion at the end of it, that Barry, hey, get your own place. He did move out for a time in season 1, then he kind of came back again. I am glad that he is finally moving out again. He needs to get his own place. He's like 26, 27. This whole thing with Iris, like, yes, move out. Wally's already living there. Let Joe kind of live his life with kids out of the nest. I did like that, but interested to see what's going to happen with, Barry and Iris going forward. Obviously, they're a mainstay of the show, but I don't know, just weird. And I saw some people after I watched this episode, they were commenting and writing on Twitter of, oh, it's not weird because, before Barry was killed, his mother was killed, Barry and Iris ended up together anyway. Yeah, but in that universe, they didn't grow up as brother and sister. They probably just grew up as friends, or they met later in life. Like, in this universe, this Flashpoint universe or our original one, it's odd. And I hope they tackle that a little bit better going forward. I don't know, guys. Give me your thoughts of how you felt about that. It was very, very awkward to me, and I just didn't think they handled the storytelling well enough. The relationship that I do think works in this episode is Wally and Jesse. They've kind of been hinting at this since Jesse was introduced last season, Wally as well, and they came together. You could say it was quick moving, no pun intended, but I like it. I like how they have a mutual attraction to one another. They have a same kind of age. I think Wally's older than Jesse, because I think Jesse is around 19-ish, 20-ish or so, and you figure Wally's, 23, 24, so he's a little bit older than her, but there is kind of this nice, dynamic between them. The two actors, I don't know, they just have good chemistry. I like it. I totally understood the point in a show. CW shows and The Flash in general can get very teen angsty a lot of times. It can get very drama-ish where there's no drama, Arrow, huge example. But this felt, they didn't dwell on it much, but it was a good point that Wally brings up, like, hey, Jesse, I like you, but you literally live on a different Earth. Like, how is this going to work? I like how he brought that up, but by the end of the episode, they're cool with it, and they're cool with seemingly dating. I mean, I would assume Wells or someone can develop some kind of tech cell phone that they can communicate across, kind of the wavelengths of the multiverse. There's got to be a way. They sent out a signal in this episode. And also, she is a speedster, and Cisco does have vibe power, so there's got to be a way to communicate to each other that he can open a breach, and then she could come, right back and visit Wally whenever she wants in literally an instant. So I do want to see more of them going forward. I like that Jesse was the one that was the forward one. She was the first one to kiss him. And then Wally, he kissed her later when he kind of sealed the deal with her. But I like how they had this kind of equal partnership. I like that Jesse is the forward person. I don't like, just in a little nitpick again from last week, they're running around the city again in their clothes, not a friction-proof suit, that you're supposed to be wearing, and nothing is burning off. So they still haven't addressed that. Maybe it's just one of those things that I don't really have a problem with. Just forgive for this episode, but when, many people have said, when a universe creates their own rules, you kind of have to stick by them, and I don't really like how they don't stick by that. The third relationship in this episode, which is really nothing to touch on, is Joe and whatever the woman's name is. I can't even think of her name. Definitely hinting at a love interest for him going forward. That's great. They seem like they could have stuff in common. He's definitely so much taller than her. That was the thing I noticed in this episode. But she definitely was the forward one. She said, hey, you should cash in those IOUs and go to dinner. And you could tell Joe is hesitant. When's the last time Joe dated? He probably hasn't dated maybe seriously ever since, he kicked Iris's mom to the curb because she was a druggie. That was his love of his life, and I can't imagine, he probably focused everything on his kids, especially after taking in Barry, who had this traumatic experience, and you thought at the time for all those years that his dad killed his mom. He didn't really have time to date, along with all his police duties, so I like that that's hopefully going to be a slow burn. But I think Barry's going to be the one to kind of give more advice to Joe about, hey, go for this, go it. Maybe Iris will as well. The other thing in this episode is new Wells. That's the third main point. This is probably the biggest problem I have with the episode, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate because anytime on these comic book shows You say something's bad, everyone's like, oh, you just didn't get it, or, oh, what do you have against this? It's like, listen, just hear me out. I thought it was a cool little funny thing of them going, hey, you have all the wells of the multiverse, and then actually, like kind of seeing their basically interview tapes of these several wells, and obviously all of them are really smart that they answered the equation, but some are awkward, some are kind of British-like. One was like a mime that seemingly was speaking a different language, or, just miming in general. But I don't like, when we eventually get to the end of the episode where we bring in, I think, Wells from Earth 19. I don't like that there's another Wells. I didn't like the little point that Cisco's like, oh, I never vibed across 18 Earths before, and we're just jumping. Like, his powers are now just infinitely expanding. It's like, all right, I guess off screen, maybe he's practicing his powers. We don't know as much about this Cisco. He obviously has more vibe powers, so maybe, his raw power just increases more on this Earth. But, we get this new Wells, and obviously our Wells, or Wells from Earth 2, there's so many Welleses now, he's hesitant of it, even though it's his idea. He doesn't want to be replaced, but I like that Wells. I like the snarky Wells, the great dynamic he has with Cisco. He's attached to Jesse Quick, who's becoming, another speedster in the show, obviously, who has a relationship with Wally now. Like, why do we need another Wells, who seems a more jokey Wells? And I love Tom Cavanaugh, and I think he could play anything, showing by the little characters he played in this episode of the other Wells. But I don't need to learn about a new Wells. Now, again, I will totally eat my words if this Wells grows on me. And, it's the CW and the Flash, and the writers know what they're doing, and this Wells probably will grow on me, but I don't know. I don't like it. I just think it's a cop-out of, like, obviously Wells has to go to Earth 2 because he has, problems to fix there, and you don't want so many speedsters on the show, so you want to push Jesse to that Earth. I get it. But it just seems like a pointless attempt to, like, in order to keep an amazing actor like Tom Cavanaugh on the show, and to have this dynamic that the Flash team usually needs in having a Harrison Wells, let's get another one from Earth 19. Like, I don't know. It just feels weird to me. It's just something I don't like. I definitely am a little against it. I saw a couple other reactions of people after I watched the episode where other people agree with me. They really weren't on board with this. And like I said, I'll eat my words, but for now, very resistant I am towards this. I don't like this. I think it's a very odd directional choice. It's funny at first, but now he appears at that end of the episode. I don't like that. He makes a funny little quip about, oh, there's a big, is there a big belly burger on this universe? And that's funny that it's all the way on Earth 19 it still exists. And then, Caitlin goes, oh, some things never change. Yeah, those things are all well and good, and they're fun, and they're funny, but at the end of the day, I don't want another Wells. We've had technically Tom Cavanaugh play Wells from Earth 1, and he died. Then he played Eobard Thawne in the skin of Harrison Wells. Then he played Wells Earth 2, and now he's Wells Earth 19. Like, I don't know. I think we're just doing too much with this character when you could definitely keep around Earth 2 Wells. He can, pop back and forth every few episodes. I'd rather them even somehow rationalize Jesse going over there, and they hinted at this last season, back to Earth 2, and Wells staying here for the most part. Like, I don't like it. But, guys, let me know your thoughts on it below, but right now, I'm definitely resistant towards it. And the fourth main point I would say in the episode is Killer Frost. So we kind of, she's the one, and I when that moment where Barry was trapped in the mirror, and it was like, oh, we need to get it colder, I was like, clearly Caitlin is either gonna and this is what I thought, was gonna reveal her powers to the team, or at least Barry, or B, she's just gonna use them in general, and she kind of uses them in secret. They hint at the end of the episode that, not so subtly hint, that Wells says, hey Cisco, it wasn't us, and he kind of goes, oh, I wonder who it is, and it seems like he looks in the direction of Caitlin, even though we don't show her. And since obviously the team has experience with Killer Frost, and that was her doppelganger, and they know Barry changed the timeline, I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to find this out pretty quickly, considering Caitlin at the end of this episode seems to be losing control a little bit of her powers. Her lips turned blue, her hair is turning white. she's becoming Killer Frost. Now, not necessarily, I don't want to see her become Killer Frost, like a villain or even anti-hero Killer Frost. I want her to be Caitlyn. We had a Killer Frost that was evil, that was a murderer. We could get back to that on some other Earth. For now, I want Caitlyn to be Caitlyn, even with ice powers. I just want her to be her. I don't want her to turn bad. I wouldn't be completely against it, but I don't know. I just want her to stay the way she is. I think definitely the team will address it in next week's episode, because I don't think she's going to be able to hide it for long, given that she's having so many physical changes and seems like her powers are growing kind of out of control. But I did like that they addressed it in this episode. I did like that, you know, that she is incredibly powerful, and she's going to be a great character going forward. You know, the other thing, it's not a main point, but the other thing I want to touch on that I wasn't a huge fan in this episode. I mean, there was little things like Jessie is just, you know, when she takes Wally to that park, just zooms past him. Like, her powers were pretty obvious. They only landed, like, they stopped running like 2 feet away. People could probably figure that's a speedster, but that's a little nitpick. The other thing I didn't like, you know, Barry gets trapped in this mirror and so, but like, he tells Jessie to stay behind, and of course we know she's not going to. She kind of indirectly gets, you know, Barry captured because, you know, she gets vertigoed by the top, and that's all well and good, but it seems like in this episode we always have people, oh, it's my fault, I'm blaming myself, can I really do this whole, you know, speedster thing? And you know, I think Wally had a good conversation with her, but I am kind of getting tired of this whole, like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do it. Need a pep talk. Like, I don't know. I think that's getting kind of old. I also, like, I liked Jessie in the Jessie Quick outfit. She says the name, very cool. And then now she's on another Earth and she's gone again. And I understand people have made the complaint that, hey, let's not get too crazy with the speedsters. Wally will probably be a speedster at some point. We saw in the alternate timeline that he was. That'll probably have something to do with alchemy going forward. But I do want to see more Jessie. She's growing on me more. I want to see Wells 2, you know, from Earth 2 stick around. And just, you know, her not listening to Barry there. You know, Barry made a great comment in the episode that, oh my God, I'm turning into Oliver. And it's nice that they have this connection across the shows, that Barry did learn a lot from Oliver, and now he's using it to teach someone else. And we mentioned that. I do like that. However, we need to stop with this kind of teen angst thing going on where, like, oh, it's all my fault, or people not listening, you know, when clearly Barry is more experienced. Like, listen to what he says and there wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, things like that. Overall, guys, that's my thoughts here kind of on The Flash Season 3 Episode 4, The New Rogues. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? Any Easter eggs I missed? Obviously, like I said, it was a good episode for some parts, and then for me, there was other parts that I didn't like. Let me know if you kind of had mixed feelings on the episode as I did down below. What did you think of our new rogues being introduced here, of Mirror Master and the Top, and kind of the changes that would be brought to them? When do you think we'll see them again? Did you like how their powers were used, and they're kind of in addition to the new rogues gallery? What do you think of the relationship drama in this episode between Barry and Iris, Wally and Jessie, and kind of Joe and that new girl from last season that's a DA? I can't think of her name. Let me know her name down below. What do you think of new Wells in this episode from Earth 19, who he says to call him HR? So that'll be pretty interesting going forward. Did you like, you know, that there's a new Wells now? Did you think like me that, I don't know, I kind of want to just stick with Earth 2 Wells. We're getting too crazy with the Wells thing. And what do you think of Killer Frost? How long do you think it's going to be for the team to figure out that Caitlyn is changed in this new timeline? And do you think she's going to be bad going forward? Do you think they'll help her navigate her powers and she'll stay good? Is she an anti-hero? Kind of give me all your thoughts on those questions if you would like down below. And any other thoughts, predictions you have on the coming episodes, definitely let me know down below. As always, no spoilers. If it's been released as something, I don't want to know. But if you have any theories or anything else, please let me know them down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends if you be so kind. And until next week of The Flash, guys, thanks for listening this time. Thank you.